Hey everybody, I just want to give a quick update before we actually get into the main part of the video. We're going to be making a few changes in these videos. Reason being is I'm a harsh critic of my own work, and I've gone back and watched a lot of the videos that I've posted already and realized I was doing what I'm trying not to do, and that is that these have basically become mini sermons. And that's not at all the intention of this study. This is supposed to help you in your own study, almost to be a conversation on a text and not really be a sermon at all. And so that's what I'm going to try to do. So I do hope that you will continue to go with us on this journey as I'm figuring this stuff out. So I hope that you'll be patient with me as I'm trying to figure out the whole video and editing process, and even some of the lighting. For instance, most of you know I normally wear glasses. Well, because of the lighting I have right here, there's a big old glare in my glasses, and it was very distracting whenever I'd go back and watch them. So I'm trying to figure out some of those things in the future. So just thought I'd make you aware of that, just that there are going to be some changes in the upcoming videos. So again, please be patient as we figure these things out, and I do hope that they will be a blessing to you. One big note, I have ordered a lapel microphone, so hopefully the audio quality will improve, and that I'm optimistic that it will be here for the video that we'll be posting on Monday. I can't guarantee that, but hopefully for the video on Wednesday at the least. Also, something that's going to be different is I'm actually not going to read the text like we have before. Instead, I'm going to encourage you all to actually read the text before we get into the video. There will be an introductory slide which will kind of give what our text is going to be, and kind of the heart behind it is that you'll read it, and then we can just jump right into it and just explain it briefly, and then turn it back over to you to aid you in your own study. So anyways, thank you again, and thank you for coming alongside me in this journey. So I appreciate it. God bless you. And we'll get to the main part of the video now. Colossians 2, 1 through 5 is a part of a greater context which begins in chapter 1, verse number 21. Now, as we looked at in the last text, Paul is going to go on to describe his afflictions that he has suffered for the body of Christ. And he almost adds this as perhaps a positive note on his resume. He's trying to prove himself to them that he is trustworthy, and he's trying to show that he cares for them, that he has a love for them. Now, as we get into this text, Paul is now going to allow his love for the Colossian believers to be, and really all believers, to be displayed in a rather raw fashion. Now, this text is broken up, verses 1 through 3, verse 4, and then verse 5. And the overall context is that Paul is going to open up his heart to them as he transitions to a warning about some pressures and some false teachers that are trying to slip them up, trying to compromise their faith and compromise their stance on the truth. Nevertheless, in the last verse, he displays some confidence in them. So let's get into it. Verses 1 through 3, Paul tells of his care for them and even wishes to see them. Now, you have to understand, Paul had never met these believers at Colossae. So for him to say that he desires to see them is kind of an unusual thing. I don't think that any of us typically miss somebody that we've never met. But nevertheless, this shows the heart that the Apostle Paul has for believers and for the body of Christ as a whole. And it's truly an attribute which I wish could be said of me. Now, as we look at it, Paul wants them to be comforted, and he desires the Colossian believers and the rest of the believers of the Lycus River Valley to be united and knit together in love. He wants them also to have a passion for biblical truth. Now, the Lycus River Valley. In it, there is 3 cities, a tri-city area made up of Colossae, Laodicea, which is mentioned in this text, as well as another city called Hierapolis. So Paul is exhorting them to be knit together in love and that they would have a passion together for biblical truth. Now this is going to be important because when we get to verse number 4, Paul indicates that this is going to be a measure of protection against what John MacArthur calls the persuasive rhetoric of false teachers. So we've mentioned this several times leading up to this. So now we're going to get to it. Paul's going to have to combat some false teachers that are trying to slip up these believers at Colossae. Now, as we get to verse number 5, despite the pressures, Paul yet rejoices and even displays a confidence in them. And the reason for this confidence is indicated in 2 words, that being their order and steadfastness. Now, both of these are military terms, and they depict a solid rank of soldiers as they're getting themselves ready for battle. Now, this is important because they are getting ready for battle. Well, what battle are they getting ready to go up against? Well, in the next text, Paul is going to go to battle for these believers at Colossae, in particular against the pressures that they're under and against the false teachers that they're facing. Now, Paul is able to still have some joy and some rejoicing, and he has confidence in them that these believers at Colossae will not just be bystanders and watch the battle, but that they would be participants in the battle. So this is going to be a battle that's going to be waged together as Paul tries to convince them that if you give in to any of these pressures, then you have truly given in to compromise. So in the next text, in the next unit of thought, the next section of this letter, Paul is going to address these pressures and these false teachers head on. And he invites us to join him as he does. So we will look at that and we will learn more about this as we get into it next in our next video. God bless you, and thank you for watching.